Hi, everybody. It's Zane with Sailing Views, and I have a very special treat. I have a good friend of mine, a guy who I grew up sailing with and against mainly. Uh, he has been great in big boats. He's been a big boat tactician, trimmer, boat runner. He's great at little boats. He's done a little bit of all of it. Uh, with that, this is Michael Miller. How you doing, buddy? Tell us about yourself.
All right, Zane. Yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm staying busy and staying safe, taking it seriously and not too seriously all at the same time. You
Yeah.
know, I'm missing sailing a bit. Um, right now, I'm kind of having a resurgence in sailing. I am probably best known for doing Olympic campaigns as Steve Hunt's crew in the 470.
Hmm.
I did two quadrenniums with that. I did another quad with Justin Law as his crew. Never quite made it, and kind of swung to the other side of the pendulum a little bit from being 150 pounds and running all the time to kind of being becoming fat and happy.
You
And
know, I can't. I'm not going to fault you for that because you know me. I was known as being the light air pinner in the laser world. You know, I was 165
yeah,
pounds, and then now I'm pushing 200, and I'm a great big boat crew. So,
yeah, exactly. I'm
yeah,
rail meat.
yeah, I know it. All right. Well, with that, I know that you're not rail meat, and I know you're a great sailor, and you've done a lot. Um, let's start off with how did you get started sailing? How'd you get into the sport?
Man, this is one of the coolest stories because my dad tells it. As an infant, he had me. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. He went down to the lake on the weekends. He had me in an AMF puffer in a child seat,
Yes,
and I was
so did I. So did my parents. Awesome.
yeah,
Yes.
going to a lake in an AMF puffer, and I was strapped in the child seat. And one day a thunderstorm was brewing, and he was trying to, get back to the shore. And he said, well, it got windy, and he said, if I flip over and my boy's strapped in, it's a problem. So he unbuckled me, and he said I started crawling the boat, and I looked at the water on the edge of the boat, and I jumped right in. And he had to scoot back around and snatch me up, throw me in there, buckle me in. You're going to the shore with me.
Okay.
So I don't remember, my
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Who were some of your early influences? Who helped make you great? You know.
man. Obviously dad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And mom and her support of allowing my dad to throw me in a car seat in a boat and talking to me, afterwards. And there's a fellow named Walter Schwanhauser that was on this lake in Richmond, and I think and it's such a big memory from so long ago, but I think he was an Olympic rower in the 20s,
Hmm.
and he was in his 70s when I was like 6 or 7 years old. But we went out in the thistle, and we got the boat balanced on this thistle on the lake. And he said, "Move your right hand to your right knee." And I did, and we started to head up a little bit. And he said,
Yeah.
"Now move your right hand to your right shoulder." And we started to bear away a little bit. So he really taught me the nuances of how
Yeah.
delicate and what the balance is. So
Yeah.
uh, Walter Schwanhauser is fantastic. And then when I was I think I was 14, Fishing Bay Yacht Club hosted a winter rules seminar that Dave Perry came to teach. And they said, well, every junior sailor that goes to this rules seminar is going to have lunch with, one on a lunch with Dave Perry. Well, it was just me and my little brother.
All
They were the
right.
only two kids that were in the rules from the yacht club. I mean, who cares about rules when you're 14?
Well,
Uh,
I did. I'm sure you did. Yeah.
I did, absolutely. That's why I was there.
Yeah.
So it was like my little brother didn't really care all that much. He was just kind of tagging along. But I talked to Dave Perry, and he said, "Hey, there's this whole other world out there. There's the youth champs and the Sears
Yeah.
Bemis Smythe, and
Yeah.
here's all
There's a
these
bigger
things."
world. You quit thinking you're the big fish in a little pond. You know,
Right,
there's
exactly.
more.
So he showed me the light and said apply for the youth champs, and I did apply, and I got in. And it was actually that I think it was it 89 was the Gulfport youth champs,
Yeah. 80,
88 or
80,
89,
88 or 89. Yeah. Because
somewhere in there.
yeah,
Uh,
you were there? I was the head instructor at Gulfport that year,
yeah, that
and
was the first. That was the first time I got to meet you,
yeah,
and Dave Perry was doing a
the
was a
clinic,
coach,
yeah,
and he remembered me. He knew my name. He knew my parents' name. He knew the name of the woman who coordinated the clinic, and I was like, "Holy cow, this is awesome!" Like somebody's thinking of me, and my
somebody
boat was
big thinks of you,
pretty
yeah,
big, right?
yeah,
Recognized me, and my boat was on the beach right next to Richard Feeny.
yeah, yeah.
And Rich Feeny at one point, and he became a mentor to me. He was a couple years older.
See, Feeny back in those days, Feeny was the Northeast, all hell Feeny. He
Yeah,
was the best coming out of the Northeast.
I
What was
I
it,
remember
Tabor
coming
Academy and all that? Yeah,
I came around and lured Mark in a really good position, maybe top 10, maybe just out of the top 10, but ahead of Rich Feeney. And I came around on port and tacked onto starboard, and he was coming downwind on starboard, and he was like, "Hell yeah, Miller, awesome!" And we slapped a high five
yeah,
while he's coming downwind and I'm going upwind. He was like that, so
yeah,
encouraging. Yeah, that was a huge inspiration to like just to keep me in sailing and to show how you should act,
yeah.
on the water. Like Rich Feeney was definitely one of my big inspirations.
Feeny is a great guy. I've sailed, that youth champs in Gulfport. That was the first time I'd met him, and just like your experience, he was just a great, really happy guy. And Rich, if you're watching, I'm coming for you. So I'm getting him on here. I've got him. I've got Josh Adams. I got JJ Johnstone. Those are all on my hit list,
Yeah.
and Josh Tozo is doing you a sailing thing, but these guys are all on my hit list from that regatta, and I just got to work them in. But all right, so you've done a lot, and you did that youth champs back in Gulfport, which, by the way, do you remember the water slide incident?
um, I
Alex
was
Komet brought it up a couple months ago, and I brought it up to a couple other people, and I've been told to be quiet. But do you remember that incident?
I do remember that incident, and I can
It
I think it
wasn't
might be
me.
up removed now that um, I was having a good time in the hotel room, not at the water slide.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what her name was.
Okay. Yeah, that
That
was.
wasn't.
They changed a lot of rules because of that regatta.
Oh yeah,
But let's just
absolutely.
go ahead and move on from there, and let's go back to good, clean living. So,
Yeah, right.
what do you do for a living? Are you a professional sailor? Do you have a job outside of sailing? What do you do?
Oh, I'm an amateur sailor again. I was a professional sailor for a while. About 3 years ago, we started with Steve Koff, who I sailed
Yeah.
with in the Melga 4 Blur program. Steve wanted to start a new business and he needed somebody to kind of run it. So we are in the energy efficiency business that has actually kind of morphed into a health and wellness business for senior living.
Hmm.
So we have a circadian rhythm lighting product that we've developed is proprietary, one of a kind in the world, and it improves the health and lifestyle of Alzheimer's and dementia residents that are in
Jeez.
senior living. So
Well, we need that product down here because something in our area makes people get dementia a lot earlier than they should. All right, well, let's move on from there. Let's move into the real questions. What's your favorite boat, and why is it your favorite boat? And I know you've sailed a ton. You've sailed everything from 80 footers down to dinghies. So, what's your favorite boat?
the natural answer is the 470. I spent 12 years on the wire of a 470.
Yeah,
I love that it's so adaptable. Um, and I love that it can sail in all sorts of different conditions. When the hot shots and the 49ers are ashore, they send the fins and the 470s out to race in the Mistral at Yare.
yeah,
It's blowing 35. We're doing 4 races a day. That's, you don't do that in a 49er. You don't do that in foiling boats.
yeah. You
You
don't
got
do it
to,
in a laser. You break all things in
right.
a laser.
And you break a ton of stuff in the 470. I've been towed
Yeah,
in mastless so many times,
yeah.
but, uh, But right now, my favorite boat is the Sea Island One Design.
Really?
So that's a local class
Uh-huh.
that was built to replicate the wagers that the plantation owners in South Carolina had when they were sending their cotton barges to
Now,
market.
don't get me into political trouble for that. Now, come on.
Well, they would
Uh,
they would bet that their captain was faster than the other captain
yeah.
the racer, the Indigo, got to market early enough, then they got a better price. So every summer they would have a race. It was a wide, flat bottom boat with a huge main, no spinnaker,
Kind of like a beetle
and
cat kind of thing. I don't know the boat, but I'm
it's
guessing a beetle cat kind of, but wood and weirder.
it's a hard chine flat bottom boat,
Hmm.
24 feet by 8 feet, hard
Wow.
chine flat bottom, metal blades. It's a dinosaur,
It's going
but
through my head right now. That sounds like fun. Sounds like something I can manipulate, you know?
it
Um,
it has two built-in coolers. It does have trapeze. I
uh-huh.
actually have you could have two trapezes on it.
Wow.
No spinnaker, but it's super simple and it's just something that you can come out and race locally with your friends.
So do you get on
You
the
know,
wire? Do you actually race it that hard where you got two guys on the wire and or is
well,
it
we did for
more?
a little while. We have one person on the wire now.
Uh,
One goes upwind. One trapeze is for upwind. The other trapeze is in lieu of a whisker pole downwind.
yeah.
So you ride a high wire up on the bow downwind
To
to,
hold the
to wing
jib?
and wing. Right.
Now that sounds fun.
And
That really does.
and every mark rounding, you once you finish the mark rounding successfully, you have to open the cooler and open a beverage. So it's a whole different type of racing.
Yeah.
But it's I was appalled at first. It was built for by my now ex father-in-law.
Uh-huh.
He commissioned the building of the boat, and when he showed me what it was, I said,
You're
"Oh my
like,
God,
this is horrible.
this is going
You're
to
this is
ruin."
bad for sailing. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Because I was the tactician on, Melgus 24s and
Yeah.
Mum 30s, Melgus 20s, and all the hot boats, and here's this clunky local wooden boat, but it has turned out to be so much fun that it is my favorite boat now.
Really? See,
Yeah,
that's awesome. That is awesome. I think the big thing about it is just it brings a community together, and it sounds like the boat you're sailing on is a
yeah.
similar thing. It's not a hot shot boat, but it brings you together. You know?
It brings us together, and there was, the first year I was probably too competitive,
Yeah,
and we won every race, every regatta, and then I said, okay, what can I do with this platform? I have a wonderful
yeah,
platform. So I started inviting the kids that I coach in Oppies to come skipper, their moms to come crew for them, the families on the boat, and it's I don't touch the helm. I often trim the main. Sometimes I don't even sail on the weekend. I just bring the boat to the regatta, and
yeah.
it's almost a social responsibility, but it's one that I'm glad to bring to fruition to make sure that the boat gets to the starting line and is amply crewed, and just keeping a tradition alive.
Dude, that is so perfect for this segue. Where do you see the future of sailing? Do you see it in fun boats like that, or do you see it in like moving to the like foiling moths or the wasp, or where do you see the future of sailing going?
I've watched some of your other interviews and listened to people, and nobody has actually mentioned that, like, the home build boat, the
Yeah,
little local class, actually should gain some traction. And I really believe that has been the past of sailing,
it's
and
been overlooked a lot. I agree.
and it
Yeah,
should be cyclical, right? I mean, it
yeah,
happened before,
yeah.
and it will happen again. So let's accept it. That here's a very cost efficient way. All I can't tell you if I've ever heard of somebody who got into sailing without their family being into it.
Yeah.
Whether so let's let's embrace this simple home build. Mom and dad get involved with the kid who's involved building the boat. They take some ownership of it. They take some, some responsibility for the rigging and the maintenance of it. They understand that it's not just a plastic toy that they can throw away and get another one next year. That is something to
It
embrace
takes
and to,
time. Yeah.
and that's what's going to really bring home
Yeah.
the emotional side and keep people involved for their life. All right,
See,
my
you sound like you're talking about building a snipe or a lightning in the backyard,
or a Sea Island one design, and
or what?
specifically
Yeah. I mean,
from my history at Fishing Bay Yacht Club in the middle of the Chesapeake, nobody had ever seen an Opti, and
yeah,
I was racing teaser at 9 years old, and I did pretty well, and we went up to SSA in Annapolis, and there's 100 Optis, and we're like,
yeah,
what are these square things? Oh my God, why aren't we doing this? So the only means we had financially was to buy the plans and build wooden Optis.
yeah,
So my dad and a guy that had a wood shop and a guy that owned a hardware store, and they got together and they built 8 wooden Optis, and that
yeah.
was the first Fishing Bay Yacht Club Opti fleet. And now Fishing Bay Yacht Club is like,
A big opti
they
fleet. Yeah,
they hire Argentines to come coach them in the summertime, and but we built wooden boats, and I
yeah,
sailed a wooden Opti, and I said, I hate this thing, get me back in my laser. But my little brother was stuck in the Opti.
yeah, yeah.
um, but there's a sense of ownership, and
So,
wherever you are, whether it be a Rhodes 19 or
or
a
whatever.
Sabot, or right,
Yeah.
the little boats. I want to see
See,
the little simple boats bring the earth that grows the rest of the fleet.
yeah.
Right.
So you're thinking that the home built, the home lifestyle will bring it back. You know, I hope you're right. Trust me, I am praying you're right because I don't know what to think. I mean, the circle we live in, and we live in, uh, money is king.
Oh yeah.
Because we both have been professional sailors at various times of our life, and you follow the money, and it's hardcore and it's impressive. Now, when I come back home and sail in my little area, it is perf Catalina 22s, Catalina 25s, Pearson 26s, you know, the 1970 version of the Tartan 30,
Right.
those are the damn boats I have to deal with all the time. And, I honestly think that the boats built in the 70s, 80s, working up to the early 90s, those are like the dead, forgotten boats to me. And those
Well, that's
guys, I think that is the new resurgence of sailing. Honestly, think the boats you can buy for 8 grand and you can nickel and dime put together. I think that's the resurgence. Um,
and you go sail and you go have fun. I mean,
yeah,
I would love to own them. I don't have 15 grand that I'm gonna spend
yeah.
on a foiling mall. Uh,
They're more like 30, and no, no,
or
nope. I'm not
right,
doing it.
right. I don't even know. Like I don't even ask because I don't know.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can't. But I think the small classes and the local fleets and the family sailing is the earth that the grassroots can take a hold of to
Yeah,
to build moving forward.
yep.
So
All right, well, let's move on with this interview. What's your favorite place to sail? You've traveled a lot. What's your favorite spot? You got one yacht club you love, and don't give me your own little place. Come on, you gotta give me someplace good.
no, no, no. A lot of that
Please
is
tell me it's Savannah. Come on.
no.
That one's the
Palma.
worst place to sail. I know.
There's something about Palma. I've had a couple of good results there. I got on the podium at the World University Games, and I got to
Yeah,
stand on a podium in U.S. gear, watch the flag go up, hear the anthem. That was
yeah,
pretty cool. We had a podium finish at the Princess Sophia Regatta. I got to shake the hand of King Juan Carlos, get kisses on the cheek from Queen Sophia.
yeah. There's
Prince,
nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
you know, if you don't like that, there's something wrong with you, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And something about Palma in Mallorca, it's warm. The way the waves are, I just totally groove on the waves downwind. You know, flying the spinnaker and getting a little dance
little
on.
bump on, yeah,
Yeah, a little bit of something going on.
yeah,
I just totally groove on Mallorca. I also love Lake Garda. Had an awesome experience there. Um, and so so in Sydney is super cool because it's so dynamic,
yeah,
and you get every condition that you want in Sydney, outside the heads, inside the heads.
yeah. It's a crazy place, but they have too many boats down there for me. All right,
It's what, yeah.
yeah, you gotta watch out. You're gonna get run over. All right, I
Right.
gotta move this a little quicker. I've been dragging it out a little bit. Uh,
Go ahead.
what's your best regatta or best trip you've been on? Do you have anything that jumps out in your mind as this was just perfect event or this is a horrible event? Now, what's your best perfect regatta?
I think the best perfect one was probably that Princess Sophia where we got on the podium and got to kiss the queen, right? That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
dude, that would definitely stand out in my mind. Um, anyway, all right. Well, let's move on to what's your worst event, worst regatta, worst trip. What disaster has befallen you during one of these sailing events?
uh, the the second trip that we made to Europe, we shipped, instead of chartering a boat in Europe, we shipped a boat, our own boat, and it arrived 4.5 weeks late. We missed two
Not just a
regattas.
little, a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, it was, we were sitting there like trying to fill our time, watching our competitors go sail. And um,
did you charter a boat? Did y'all have workarounds? What'd y'all do?
we,
I mean,
we didn't have any money. We
yeah,
were stuck. We were really committed to what we were doing. I mean, I was sailing with Steve Hunt, and Steve and I came, out of
well,
we were poor but modest backgrounds.
yeah,
We weren't spending trust funds. So we were raising the money that we needed to raise.
yeah, and you didn't budget for, okay, I need 10 grand now. Yeah. I mean,
Right.
you
We
had
did.
already spent your 10 grand to ship a boat, deal with it. Your whole summer budget was spent right there in the shipping, and then it didn't show up, and you're just
And then it
stuck.
didn't show up. Right. And we're
Oh,
sitting there waiting for the boat, and we're trying to contact the people that were in charge, who I won't name,
yeah,
but it was a very frustrating situation. So
yeah,
that has to go down. Probably, it's the first regatta that wasn't even a regatta because I didn't even sail.
yeah,
So
yeah. That I can understand that. I should
quick,
have.
quick Fuel Week story I got to share.
Yeah,
Um, we were against Morgan Reester and Kevin Burnham,
yeah, and they're
and
great. They know everything. Yeah,
they're awesome, and we were sailing against them in the 470. They were doing a Mum 36 in Kiel, but we were doing the 470. We came out of the port, and we set the spinnaker, and we had been practicing a lot rudderless.
yeah.
So we flipped the rudder up and set the kite, and I'm on the wire, and Hunt's not driving. He's just playing the main. He's not driving because the
That's
rudder's
not
out of the
easy.
water.
Yeah, there's
And
nothing easy.
so we're on a full plane in like 18 knots in the 470 with no rudder, and we go skipping past this Mum 36, and we look at Morgan Reeser and Kevin Burnham, and they're like, "Oh my God, what are these guys doing?"
They're practicing something we should be.
Yeah, like we trained so hard, and we were trying everything that was so incredibly difficult.
Yeah,
But we did that at Keel Week. We planed past Morgan Reeser and Kevin Burnham, and they were just like their jaws were dropped
yeah,
because they could tell the rudder was up. Not a lot
yeah,
of people would know
yeah,
that the rudder was not in the water, but we're skipping
yeah.
across, tight, fully wired, no
Yeah, that
rudder.
is good. What's the strangest thing you've seen floating in the water?
Probably myself. Many times as I've wiped out, and I'm pretty strange.
All right, come on, you gotta come up with something like better than that. I mean, I've seen a body or an arm, I've had, a
There was
Portuguese man of war landed in my lap one time when I was sailing in Miami. I
there
was
was a
wearing a shorty wetsuit. You know
the
how
body.
long those tentacles are? They're
Oh
painful.
yeah, forever, right?
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
Uh,
so okay, here's a cool story. A leeward mark rounding in Charleston Race Week. The bowman lost his hat. Kite blew it off,
yeah.
and it was his favorite hat. It had a picture of a redfish. It said "crowd pleaser."
Uh,
Well, we went and we finished the race. We had another up and down to do, and um, and then we finished the race. And he's like, "Do you think we could find the hat?" And I'm like,
you're like, no.
"Probably going to be up here." And we went and we found his hat again, and it had blown probably a mile and a quarter from that leeward mark in the Charleston wind and Charleston current. So I guess that's probably the strangest thing that I've found, that we actually found his hat again, like past the weather mark when he lost it at the leeward mark.
Wow. Okay.
So
Remind me to call you to be tactician for me next time there's a regatta in Charleston because I have no clue what's going on in the currents up there. So
yeah,
you're my guy. All right.
all right.
All right. So let's move on to uh, what's your best role on a boat? Are you a tactician, a trimmer, a boat manager? What do you do? What do you see yourself?
I'm usually a tactician. I think my strongest role is actually the spinnaker trimmer,
Hmm. Just
because
floating
I
it
think,
and
yeah, just let it float out, and it's all this stuff that I learned from Kevin Burnham, really, about how to trim a kite and get it out there, let it float, and feel the boat, and be able to trim it a little bit with just your weight before you actually pull on the sheet,
yeah.
get the boat's attitude right. Um, but I've kind of morphed into a tactician.
Well,
At
I
somebody, at some
I
point, somebody told me I was a good tactician, and I didn't argue with them. Then I had to like all of a sudden prove it.
yeah.
So
Well, I've sailed against you enough and enough bigger boats where you have designated tacticians, and you've done great and kicked my butt number of times. So yeah, I'd have to say you're a damn good tactician. So um, all right, so let's move on to aggressive or conservative. I know my opinion of you because I've sailed against you enough in your years, and we've yelled at each other enough. Are you aggressive or conservative?
I think I'm very conservative until I have to dig out of a hole. I
Okay,
try to keep it all in, and then if I get it myself into a situation where I got to freak out, then
okay,
but then my voice cracks like a little girl, and so it doesn't work out.
all
Well,
right.
Gary Bodie taught
Oh,
a lesson that said that every sailboat race starts here,
uh huh.
and then people make mistakes.
Yeah.
So the least mistakes you make,
Hmm.
the more you're going to be closer to here. So that kind of ingrained that conservative personality in my tactics.
All right.
Uh, but every now and then you got to stand up and fight for your rights.
Yep.
You were there.
I know.
You
Yeah.
know,
All right. So let's go to the next one. What's the best maneuver you've pulled off?
I think that rudderless fly by with Kevin
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and
that's
Morgan.
pretty epic, man. All
That,
right.
that was that was it.
All right. Well, then let's move on to the next question. What's the best program you've been involved with? Has it been an Olympic campaign or has it been big boat program? What's the best program
Yeah,
you've been involved with?
without a doubt, sailing with Steve Hunt, doing the 470 campaigns. When we were dejected, not winning the trials
Yeah.
for the 2000 games, and Paul Forster said, "Hey, put your boat in that container over there, and I need you to be the training
Yeah.
partner."
You're going.
And
Yeah.
we spent that whole year with them was just fantastic. We had Steve and I had no pressure other than to push Paul and Bob
Hmm.
to be the best that they could possibly be. So, we got to go out at night and, do
Yeah.
whatever we wanted to, as long as we were pushing them, it was great.
Yeah.
And we pushed them really hard. We would come in from the training session to the club, and the first day we just sailed in from training. The second day we said we're going to race to the corner of the club. The third day to this other piling. The fourth day to the beach. The fifth day to get your boat up on the dolly. The sixth day we had to race to the showers.
Yeah.
Right. So and
He was
where
pushing.
Paul Forrester had us, we took everything that we were wearing off and put it in a bucket and soaked it for 8 minutes and drained it for 8 minutes and weighed it. And, to learn from Paul Forrester, that level of dissection of performance,
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. So
Yeah.
that's unmatched in any other experience.
All right. So let's go to America's Cup. What are your thoughts on the new version of America's Cup?
It's kind of hard for me to keep up. Like I really dig that there are these aeronautical engineers that are bringing this technology to the table. The performance obviously is surpassing anything, and that's kind of
it's phenomenal. Yeah.
And the whole reason we have the American Cup is an open design form, really. So I can't hold anybody against that, but I'd really like to see a broader nationalistic competition where New Zealanders, Kiwis sailed for New Zealand, Aussies sailed for Australia, the Brits sailed for.
No.
And here's a wild idea that I had the other day. Let's maybe make it a multiple format event. You have obviously this huge technological.
Yeah, you got to push the envelope. Yeah.
Right. So that should count for the most of it. But let's put Spithill, against. Let's put them in sabbats.
When I
want to see
a
what happens.
multi-tiered event.
Rip the money and the technology away.
Yeah.
There ought to be a competition that really removes all of that.
Well, let me tell you right now, my money's on Ainsley and Canfield over the rest of them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Terry. Sorry, James. But those guys, man, they're one design beasts. Both of them are, and I'd be like, yeah. All right. Well, I've already pissed off everybody important in sailing, so let's move on to the next question. Women's sailing. What are your thoughts on it? So we're stepping out of one frying pan in the other. Women's sailing. Let's go with it.
I love it. I love it.
Of course, but
women in sailing. I want to see more women in sailing. I love women. I sail with Sarah Buckley Renz and the J70.
And she's great. She's phenomenal, by the way. Yeah.
She is awesome, and Mark does a great job of supporting her. And it's such a cool feeling when we won a regatta in Chicago, and Mark had been out of town and didn't fly until Saturday. But Sunday afternoon, we finished with the win, and Mark was coming out in the powerboat with her kids, and her kids are like, "Mom won, Mom won," and it's just like, God, man, that's why I do it.
It makes you feel good. Yeah.
It made me feel really, really good.
It brings
and obviously
family
there's a lot of people on that team, but I love sailing with Sarah. And in the Sea Island One design now, the local boat, I sail with Jessica Koenig, who is running the.
Her name sounds very familiar to me, but
she's sailed quite a bit at the high level. She's won a lot of things with in the Melgus 24, the FAR 40 programs, but she runs the local Chelsea community sailing.
Yeah, it just clicked into my head. I know who she is. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So she sailed with Bruce Ayers quite a bit on the Melgus.
Yeah.
So.
And Bruce is no slouch, and just to get on that program, you can't be a slouch. So.
Right. She's a badass.
Yeah.
So she skippers the local boat, and I have another. Catherine DuPont is the forward hand. She's got a great helm, great feel for the helm, and I don't think that I don't think that the women are inferior in any way. They
No,
have an excellent
they're just not getting the
feel for the hound.
opportunity.
They
Yeah, I don't
feel,
think
yeah,
they're
right.
given
They're
the
just not.
opportunity to do what they need to do.
That's
So
a fantastic thing that you want to do there, and that's what I'm doing with the Sea Island is bringing women
yeah,
into ownership roles.
yeah.
Jessica's won 3 times in a row now, a trophy that no female had ever won before in Charleston.
Well, send me her
And
digits afterwards, because if she can do it up there in Charleston, she can do it with you. She's got to be good enough to drive my boat.
if she
So,
can deal with me, she's got it.
yep. All right. So, what are your future plans in sailing, or do you have any? I mean, do you know where you were going after, the virus is gone, or are you just sort of already set where you're at?
I have this local boat, the Sea Island One Design. Unfortunately, most of the regattas were canceled for the summer.
Yeah, we just
Uh,
killed. By the way, we just killed the GYA Gulf Yachting Association. We just killed our entire season. We just
Killed the
had a
whole thing.
vote Sunday, 2 days ago, where we just said, okay, Captiville is over. We're not even gonna.
Yeah, it's
All of
gonna.
my plans are up in the air. I don't know what you got, but everything's in the
We're
world
gonna
right now.
do local events that the clubs host, and we're gonna be smart about it. Probably disinfect with alcohol from the inside out,
Yeah.
and, um, and then there's a new J121 in town.
Well, nice big boat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super cool boat, and I've sailed on it a couple of times. And there's some offshore races where you're not, in a crowd. You're obviously in a
Yeah.
contained environment with 6 or 8 people, but so it might do a little bit more offshore, big boat offshore sailing.
Yeah. Now, have you
Otherwise,
have you thought about the double-handed offshore Olympic program? Because they give it a credit for old guys like us. You get like a 2 hour head start for being over 50, which we're close to, and by the time Olympics show up, we will be. So
oh no, I
you're
spent so
done.
much time chasing the Olympics and earning $0
Yeah,
that if
you're done.
I need to I need to not ever do that again. Basically,
Yeah, it's about time to earn some dollars, not keep just blowing thousands and hundreds of thousands. All
right,
right,
exactly.
all right. So, what are your ideas? How can we help grow the sport? Do you have any ideas on how to just grab some grassroots people or people that aren't used to sailing? How do we get them into the sport?
Um, have lower the financial entry barrier, right?
That is key. Yeah,
It's expensive. So if you have a club owned or community sailing owned boats, um, I think we need to lower the performance
yeah.
barrier. If somebody's looking at a foiling moth and thinking, "Oh, this is what I have to do to get into sailing," they're going to be
No,
intimidated
that's
by,
not it. Yeah,
and I love those guys that are doing that. Then we got some great guys here. Patrick Wilson and David Loring
yeah.
are doing great things, and hey guys, keep it going. I think it's fantastic to
But that's
keep
the
that
that's
bar
the
up,
top. That's the top of the bar. You know,
but to grow it, you got to,
start
and
at the bottom, right?
we talk about this grassroots thing. We need to think about what's the dirt that the
Yeah,
grass is going to grow in. Keep keep it simple, keep it safe,
yeah.
so people aren't intimidated. Keep it family oriented. Everybody that I've talked to that is a diehard sailor got introduced at a young age through their family, and
Yeah.
um, keep moms and dads and
See,
everybody involved.
I started thinking about it, and I'm like, it's very rare that people get into it at 20 or 30 or 50 or 40,
Right.
whatever age, and get
It
into
is.
this sport.
Yeah.
Because it's very homegrown. Mom and dad, kid. How do we get those 20-year-olds to 40-year-olds.
So we do it like Jessica Koenig has run the Charleston Community Sailing Program.
Yes.
And there's a whole board member, there's a list of board members that I should give credit to as well. But she has programs with community sailing that provide underprivileged kids access to the water.
Yeah.
And some of those kids can graduate to the next program and the next program. They also run a high school sailing program, and I was privileged to coach the Academic Magnet High School sailing program, which had some kids that had come up from junior sailing, and then it had some kid whose parents had just moved here from India or Pakistan or wherever, and their parents had no idea what sailing was. There was a French
Just
girl,
a gap. Yeah.
they had absolutely no idea, but their kid at the Academic Magnet High School was smart enough, and their friend was sailing, and their friend said, "Hey, come sailing with me." And by the way, we have a coach who's not going to kick you off right away. So,
Yeah.
So we ended up with over 4 years, we ended up with an incredibly diverse sailing team. And we had kids whose parents had no clue what sailing was that were winning A division races in high school districts.
And that's not bad.
So, it can be done. It can be taught. Another program that Jessica has implemented is the Women on the Water. Wow.
I've heard of them, and you've reminded me I've got to call Jessica for an interview next. So, yep.
She's she's instrumental in the Charleston sailing and Charleston and beyond sailing community. But Women on the Water is breaking down some of the trepidation that women have for being around a male-dominated sport, and being a little bit maybe timid or sensitive to what's happening. They're able to develop a confidence amongst themselves and learn from like-minded people. So that's another way that there are women in particular, but a way to get people into sailing that haven't been into it from the very beginning.
All right. Well, I will definitely track her down to that. All right. We are now the second longest interview I've ever had. So let's move on to really quickly. Best advice for new people into sailing. They buy a boat or they see an ad on Craigslist and want to get in. What's the best advice for that guy?
Take it easy. Realize that there are steps that you have licenses for. If it's blowing 20, don't leave the dock.
Yeah.
Go out at 5 knots, develop confidence, get your 5-knot license, get your 10-knot license, etc. Move forward gently. Don't force other people to try and enjoy what you think they want to enjoy, because they're going to reject. If you drag your family along and they're crying and screaming,
don't do it anymore. All right, I'm going to call you out on the 10-knot license, 5-knot license. I never got a license, so I don't know. But we are in Alabama. They don't give licenses to nutballs like me. So,
right.
All right. Well, with that, look, everybody, I want to thank you for enjoying this video or sticking around this long. Michael Miller, this guy is great. He's you used to be in Charleston. Where are you at now?
I'm in Charleston. I'm just out in the country around Charleston now.
All right. He's in the country of Charleston. He sails with the greats. He is one of the greats. If you look up who the studs are at Charleston, I guarantee he's on the top 5 list. So he is a great sailor, one of the best I've ever sailed with, against, and just a great all-around guy. Michael Miller, everybody, here he is.
Thank you, Zane.
All right. And with that, everybody, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It costs you no money. All it does, it tells you when I do another video, which is 3 times a week. So hit the like, hit the subscribe. I need it. Other than that, this is Zane with Sailing Views. Over, out, and bye-bye.
Thank you, Zane. Cheers.